Ciao and benvenuti to Tortellino time. This is a different video to my normal ones. Occasionally I receive the odd voice message or pictures from Sicily, either from my sister Mariella or from Giusy, my sister-in-law. So a couple of weeks ago, my sister-in-law Giusy sent me a message on WhatsApp and I'm gonna show it to you. Actually started with a picture of a dinner, and here I've got my telephone and I'm gonna click on it, and this is the photo. Actually, if I turn it the other way around you'll be able to see better. And it says Broth di pollo and a smiley face, which means actually the literal translation is chicken broth. And then attached to that, if I just scroll down with my message, she said bello condito, compreso di bucce di Parmigiano squisito, which means it's very aromatic, including some Parmesan rind, absolutely exquisite. And I replied here, buono, which means tasty, and then I asked her, how much broth? And then she proceeded, if you look, there are 3 messages here, in giving me the full recipe from the top of her head. And today I'm going to be using Giusy's voice, in Italian of course, to tell me what to do, and I'll be her sous chef. There will be subtitles translating her voice into English in the video, and hopefully it will be fun. The one thing I would say is that she said that she used corn-fed chicken, which is what I will be using today, but she also used 6 legs, and I decided, as I'm cooking for just Julie and I will be using corn-fed chicken, but only half a chicken. And I will give you the recipe from Giusy exactly as she stated it, but also I'll give you the recipe for mine. So there'll be 2 recipes in the file. And one last thing, which I've actually clarified with her, she failed to tell me in the voice message that I should have included onions. So I will be also including some onions. So, are you ready? I will be playing Giusy next, and I will just follow her instructions. Off we go.
Io uso il pollo, quello allevato a terra, che è quello più giallo. Poi ho messo le carote, ho messo le patate, ho messo il sedano, ho messo i pomodorini, ho messo un po' di pepe nero a granuli, ho messo i chiodi di garofano. E poi mi sono fatta dare dal salumiere le bucce di parmigiano che c'è un poco di formaggio attaccato, diciamo, non solo buccia, e ci ho messo un 6 di queste bucce belle grosse e poi l'ho salato con il dado.
I'm adding the water last so that I can judge it better. Giusy's message was at the very beginning, but she was just giving me the ingredients rather than the procedure. So when you put your water, ensure that you cover all of your ingredients, and you try and go as high as you can, making sure that your chicken is covered. Also, you'll have noticed that I left my half chicken halved. I didn't chop into pieces. By all means, you chop into pieces if you like. I left it like this because presentation it will look much nicer, and it will cook a little bit longer, but you can cut it into little pieces, preference and personal choices of course. Ironically, as I was following her instructions to the letter on the telephone, I forgot to add the onions myself, so do not forget to put your onions in, but they will be of course in the recipe. After a few minutes, water is beginning to boil. You can see it's bubbling away, and you will also have noticed that I have stabbed one of the potatoes with 3 cloves. That is because it will be easier to find them at the end. If I was to have them loose, obviously they would be amongst everything else and they could be a little bit unpleasant. So what I'll do next, I'll put the lid on, and I'll turn the temperature down onto medium-low, and I will leave it to simmer for 1 hour. If you were to chop your chickens, 45 minutes would be good enough. Also, you do not have to use corn-fed chicken, by the way. You can use normal chicken. But I am now ready to listen to message number 2, as there is more from Giusy. Let's have a look.
E non avevo tempo e sinceramente me ne sono dimenticata, perché io generalmente ci metto anche, faccio le polpette fatte quelle classiche, però fatte piccole, e ce le metto a un quarto d'ora, 20 minuti prima di spegnere il brodo, perché sennò diciamo si rompono nel brodo stesso. Ci metto queste polpettine, no, viene buonissimo, proprio buonissimo.
Okay, So it looks like I'm going to be making some polpettine. Polpettine is the same as polpette meatballs, but because they're smaller, they're called polpettine. So I'm going to show you the classic recipe, slightly adjusted. Again, I will be making a reduced amount of polpettine, as it's just Julie and I. So I'll start with 250 grams of pork mince. You can also use a beef mince or a combination of both. Also, because I'm going to give you both recipes, mine in terms of quantities and Giusy's, the amount of mince you will need if you're doing a bigger quantity is going to be half a kilo. Yesterday I made an eggplant parmigiana, and I used the other half of the pork mince here, and I mentioned that there would have been a link into this video, yesterday's video. Of course, if you want to see how I made the eggplant parmigiana using the pork mince, I'll put a link up here also. But I've just grated a good handful of fresh parsley, and I'm going to be adding it now to my mince, like so. When you make classic meatballs, you need Parmesan cheese or Pecorino cheese. As this is a very classic recipe, I'm going to use Parmesan today. So I'm going to grate a good couple of tablespoons. And I'll pick it up and add it to the rest here. I did talk about a little variation earlier to the classic polpettine, so this is nutmeg, just a little. It will make a big difference, unless you don't like it, of course. And another little optional variation to the classic recipe is going to be a little amount of chili flakes, just a tiny little amount. Maria, one of the viewers, hi Maria, made me laugh as in one of the comments where I was adding chili flakes in one of the videos. I don't remember which video. She said, you really like chili flakes. Yes, I do. But I'm trying to slowly trying to convert Julie because she's not very keen. So I feel that if I put a little chili flakes in everything I cook, eventually she'll become used to it. Next I will add a tiny little amount of salt, not a lot because the cheese is quite salty, so you don't need a lot. And also a little amount of pepper. Quantities to taste, as I always say. And I've got only a couple of ingredients left for my polpettine. One is an egg, which I'll add next, and I am going to finish the recipe with some breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs are the only ambiguous ingredient in terms of quantities, and it is one of those things that you have to judge, because I do not really know how fatty your mince is, but also how big is your egg. So the best thing to do is you start with one, and then you start mixing it, and then you start adjusting your ingredients until your meatballs are lovely and they can actually be put together without too much problem. So let's take a look. I think I could do with another spoon. I'm going to use my hand though, because my spoon is dirty now. So there you go. And the real trick and test when you're making breadcrumbs is to ensure that by the time you put them together, they do not crumble away. So the egg will be a little bit of a glue agent, but I can see that they're going to be okay because look, they don't get stuck to my hand and they're the perfect consistency. So I can stop with the breadcrumbs now. And I think that making meatballs is one of the most therapeutic and rewarding things you can do in the kitchen. Therapeutic because actually they relax me, but also rewarding because they are absolutely delicious. Little tip, you've seen that I've put some olive oil all over my hands. That is so that the mince doesn't get stuck to my hands and I can just plow my way through. And I'm making them about 2 centimeters in diameter, like this. Remember, they are polpettine. Do not make whoppers, but entirely up to you, of course. So I'll just continue and finish them off, and then we can see where we are with the chicken, okay? And here they all are. I've made 27, so assuming you're replicating my recipe and the same quantities, that is broadly what you can expect. But let's have a look at the chicken now, which has been merrily cooking away for the last half an hour. I can see that there is a lot more liquid in there that I really want. So firstly, I'm going to bury you there. And what I'll do, I'm going to turn the temperature up a little. And I'm going to put in this like so. So that hopefully some of the liquid evaporates. Because in 15 minutes time, I will be adding my polpettine in line with Giusy's instructions, 15 minutes before the end, and there is too much water in there, so I might have to scoop some out later, but let's see what happens over the next 15 minutes and then we can touch base. 15 minutes to go, and let's take another look. Still too much water, so I'm ready. I've got a little jug here, and I'll place it over here, and a ladle, and I'll go along and I'll just remove some of the liquid. enough so that by the time I put my little polpettine in, it doesn't go all over the place. But this liquid, by the way, I'm not throwing it away. I will be adding it back later, and not even Julie and I will be able to manage all of this tonight. So what I'll do, I will keep some of the stock and some of the polpettine and no doubt the chicken and everything else, and tomorrow I will have plenty of leftover, and I'll break in some spaghetti, about 2 inches each piece, and I'll cook the pasta in there, and I will have made 2 meals. So you might not realize it, but if you're making this, you're likely to make 2 to 3 meals. So let's have a look. I think it's enough. And take your time when you add your polpettine in, because they are a little bit fragile and you don't want to break them. So one by one is my advice. Also try to ensure that they do not touch one another. I'm not sure if it makes much of a difference, but occasionally has happened to me that they get stuck. Not that it's a big problem, they're only polpettine after all, but it'd be nice if they didn't. And you know what I'm going to do? I've noticed actually that there is a little bit more space, so I'm going to be adding back some of my stock and see how it goes. I keep changing my mind, sorry about that. So let's have a look to see how it does. That's not a bad call actually. I'll take it out to then put it back in again. That's enough. And everything is boiling again, so what I'll do this time though, to make sure that they properly cook, I'll put the lid on properly, I'll turn the temperature down to simmer, and I'll see you in 15 minutes as per Giusy's instructions. See you then. And time is up and the last 15 minutes have passed, so let's take a look. Oh god, the smell is absolutely amazing, especially now that the polpettine are in. So let's turn this off, but before I dish it, let's listen to Giusy's final and last message to see what she has to say.
Cioè, se si pensa a un classico brodo di pollo, Giovanni dice il triste brodo di pollo, ma se il brodo di pollo, diciamo, si fa più sistemato, viene squisito.
Okay, so Giovanni is my brother, and he's right most probably. The classic chicken stock is a little bit boring, so she's saying that actually this is much better. So let's have a look and see if it's true. And I'll start with the chicken so that then I can put everything around it. So quite carefully I'll pull it and move it into my serving dish like this. Perfect size. And without the chicken in, now I can mix everything together, and I've got this ladle with a few holes. I don't want any stock yet, so I'll move some of the vegetables over here, and I'll start putting it around it. Today is Sunday, so this is going to be a slightly different variation to the typical Sunday roast, but I'm really looking forward to it. And as I mentioned earlier, I've got absolutely loads of stock left over, which will be ideal for tomorrow, and also polpette and vegetables with my pasta, so perfect. And I think I'm done. The last thing I want to do is to add a little parsley. I've chopped some more, and I'll just put it on top to garnish, and because it's fresh it will add a different type of flavor, being fresh of course, but entirely up to you if you don't want to put it in, and also it will look nice. And I suspect if you watched any of my other videos, you know what is coming. A little olive oil on top will not harm. Actually, I'm going also on top of my meatballs and vegetables. Lovely. And let's see what it's like. I'll try the chicken first, and then I'll have a go at the meatball. Oh God, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely beautiful. Giusy is absolutely right. Definitely not sad at all. Exquisite. She's used exactly the right word. And it goes to show actually that if you cook things properly, you take your time and you cook with love, you will end up with a beautiful dish. But let's just try some of the meatball, and then I'll go. If you got children and you make this dish, they're gonna love you forever. Well, I hope you make it, and hopefully also you enjoy this different type of video. Thank you very much, Giusy. Please send them in, send more messages in. We like them. And arrivederci, buon appetito, and let me know if you make it, what you think. Arrivederci, grazie, ciao.